All right, do the whole good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Prepping Outside the Box, Josh. Today, trying to knock this one out. I wanted to get it yesterday, I really apologize, but it's the color, contrast, and movement. And obviously you can make way longer classes out of this. I want to touch on some key aspects to it to get your mind rolling on what you have in your own personal preparedness, right? So, right before we get started, I like to ask every time if you guys would not mind, go ahead and like, share, subscribe to the channel. Whatever pleases you helps out us and helps us grow and everything. So, all right, let's get to it. Anybody who knows me knows my notes are right here now. I used to have them on my little notepad, but I transfer, right? Anyways, so I want you to consider all this stuff when you're thinking about movement and concealment for your gear, your person, your vehicle, and things like that. So that's kind of what we're going to wrap around this conversation about. And we'll go ahead and start off with color. So for color, when we're thinking about it, we're thinking about for the area you're going to be in, right? Urban, woods, snow, things like that, right? Where you're going to be at, the type of foliage and things like that. So the color that's around the area, we're thinking about the season that it is, and I highly recommend that you try to prepare for multiple seasons, just so you can kind of get around this part. So we're thinking about the season for it, and then we're thinking about solid colors. And when I say solid colors, some people like to have that solid black rifle, solid black bag, solid what have you. And if you really think about it, those solid colors, when you're looking out, if you're trying to find something, like say a go bag, and you're walking along and say you put yours aside and you try to hide, it's going to be a lot harder to hide something that's one solid color in the mix of brown and green or whatever kind of foliage or whatever's around you. So you're thinking about, like I said, the area, the season, and then just having solid colors, and we're trying to avoid that. For contrast, contrast is going to be a sharp distinction, right? In the shape, the texture, the size of whatever it is. And an easy way to think about it is, imagine looking at a field of tall grass and seeing a vehicle right there. Does not go right. It's an out of place item, so it's going to catch your eye. So when we're talking about the contrast, we're talking about something that is basically similar to what's going to be around it, right? If you have something that's mostly snow, and then all of a sudden you just have this gigantic piece of foliage, right? This gigantic green patch of grass that is your concealment for your bag, yourself, or whatever it is. Just think about that. So the contrast is catching you and it's pulling you to see something that's distinctly different than what the surrounding area is going to be, right? And then movement. So your eyes are going to catch color, contrast, and movement very, very well, right? That's basically how because if you really want to think about it, we're kind of prey, right? There's a lot of beasts out there that could best us if it was just our physical ability to their physical ability, right? So being able to look out and see color, contrast, and movement, it helps us basically stay alive, right? So we catch it easily. I want you to consider your environment when you're going around. Not every single area you go to is going to be able to be a sprint, right? If you're going through a large open area, if you're going through a heavily dense jungle, forest, whatever it is, going through the snow, consider your color, contrast, and movement for those areas, right? It's not always going to be a run. And I'm talking about that, it's not always going to be a run if you're trying to be stealthy, if you're trying not to be noticed, if you're trying to go undetected by whatever, maybe a larger group or whatever it is. I know a lot of people, I think that a lot of people would have smaller groups, right? At least at first, when you're moving around. I would be me and my family moving around. So if I'm going to come across a 20 plus group, I'm not going to sit there and put my children's, their safety at risk and things like that, right? So we have to consider things like our little trio right here, right? And an easy way to kind of get into this, we understand, I know you do, I'm not trying to mess with anybody's intelligence or anything. We understand color, contrast, and movement, and even if there's parts you didn't understand, we do now. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at our gear. We're going to take a look at our weapon, our vehicle, Not saying you need to go spray paint your vehicle right now. It's not like anything crazy is happening. Well, to the extent that would warrant it, right? But and then the way you dress. And when I'm talking about all these things, consider what you have planned for like bugging out, right? So what is your preparedness for that? Is everything you have a solid color? Do you have are you going to be wearing blue jeans and a red jacket because it's cold in the area, but that's the best jacket you could find is a bright red jacket, you know what I mean? So go ahead and take a look at your gear, take a look at your weapon, your vehicle, and the way you're going to be dressing, your plan, what you have set aside for bugging out, and just really go over those three main factors, not really the movement side, but the color and contrast for those, and consider what could possibly make it better so you're not such an easily attracted to the eye, right? And I know this is a really fast one. It's a quick little bit that I wanted to touch on because I think these three things are very important, especially for the safety of people that are trying to be a little more passive because maybe they don't have the ability to hold their ground or whatever it is. So just consider these three things. Please look at your stuff, look at your gear, look at what you plan. I have my stuff set aside for my gear and the way that I plan on what I plan on if I'm home, perfect scenario, what I plan to put on for my dress, for my loadout, for my bag. Like all this stuff is planned out. Best case scenario, right? Every plan usually goes to shit. But take a look at your stuff. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be here tomorrow again. We got another goat in the morning. Should be good. I hope you guys' week goes well. It's Prepping Outside the Box. I'm Josh. I'll see you then.